If you know someone who has or will give birth, or if you're going to give birth, or if you're postpartum yourself, then this message is for you. Today is Levator Avulsion Awareness Day, and as this is an injury that I myself live with every day, I wanted to take the opportunity to raise awareness about it because it is not known about enough. A levator avulsion happens when the pelvic floor muscles rip off the pubic bone, usually during childbirth. It is a severe birth trauma injury that is irreparable, therefore lifelong, and it severely impacts the stability of the pelvic floor, usually leading to pelvic organ prolapse, incontinence issues, and potentially lifelong pain. But the most important part is that this injury is not uncommon. It happens in up to 20% of regular vaginal births and in up to 60% of forceps-assisted deliveries. The use of forceps in childbirth is the single strongest known risk factor, meaning that it is significantly more likely to happen to you if forceps are used in your delivery. Some further risk factors include a prolonged pushing stage, a large baby, a first-time vaginal birth, and maternal age, meaning that older first-time mothers are at a higher risk. The severity of a levator avulsion can vary from a partial avulsion on one side to complete bilateral levator avulsion, the latter of which is life-altering to a truly unfathomable degree. I personally have a partial avulsion on my left and a near complete avulsion on my right, which I obtained in childbirth. Things that used to be simple for me are not anymore. I can't chase my son around the yard. I have to limit the amount of times I pick him up every day. I'm in pain when I walk or stand for too long, and heartbreakingly, I am no longer able to dance like I used to, which was one of my all-time loves. This is not only because my pelvic organs are no longer supported, so there's a higher risk of further prolapse, but also because I now live in chronic pain due to the change in load bearing onto my pelvic floor. I've also lost sensation due to nerve damage and experience a lot of other symptoms, as I'm sure you can imagine. In addition to this, I have to wear quite an invasive device called a pessary 24/7. We've spent thousands of dollars on specialists. We've had to push back our family plans, and on top of it, we're grappling with the PTSD of it all. I and many other women did not know about this injury prior to birth. I was not taught about it even in the prenatal pregnancy class that I went to at the hospital. I am part of several support groups on Facebook for women experiencing pelvic organ prolapse and levator avulsion, and the overwhelming sentiment is a feeling of betrayal that they were never told about such risks. In any other medical context, you would expect to be told about the risk of an injury that is so astronomically life-changing. But no, we don't ask and we aren't told because forceps are perceived as a common intervention in childbirth. Therefore, we assume that they are safe. I myself was told in my birth class that the only risk of a forceps delivery for mum was pelvic floor strain, which is a severe understatement. Do we need forceps occasionally? Yes, in the rare case where there is an emergency, but not as much as they are being used currently. In Nordic countries, they are used in less than 1% of the time, whereas in Australia, they are used in approximately 4% of the time. And as for consent, I myself was asked if I consented to forceps being used in my delivery when I was in the middle of my 48th hour of labor. I was weeping, hyperventilating, and I had completely dissociated at that point. A woman cannot consent when she is in that state. Women deserve education well in advance when their prefrontal cortex is fully online, especially when there is risk of such a horrifying and common injury. If I had been given knowledge about the high risk of this injury and known the horrific implications, I'm sure that I would have made a different choice. And if not, it would have at least prevented me from experiencing the feelings of utter shock and betrayal that I felt towards the very healthcare professionals in whom I put my trust. And I fully acknowledge that there are many healthcare professionals who are well informed and advocate for informed consent for women. I engage every day with women who are now dealing with crippling depression and other mental health issues because of this absolute shock to their system. I myself was experiencing immense grief for 6 months following my diagnosis as I attempted to come to terms with something huge that I was not prepared for and did not ask for. All because I decided to have a baby and to trust the midwives and doctors who were taking care of me. Despite the fact that my pelvis was numb for 12 weeks postpartum and that I had 0% pelvic floor activation during this time, I was told that these were normal experiences post-childbirth and that every woman's body heals differently. This is of course true, but it does not mean that legitimately concerning symptoms should be getting ignored, or any symptoms for that matter. I was only diagnosed 13 months postpartum because within the first year I was met with general misunderstanding and invalidation from healthcare professionals, even though my intuition was screaming that there was something wrong. wrong. I am of course not talking about all healthcare professionals, but this is the overwhelming experience of the women I've spoken to. I would include hundreds of screenshots of these women's stories if they weren't private. I wish so much that I had trusted my gut postpartum more than I had trusted anyone else, and that is why I'm making this video. Trust me, I never dreamed that I would ever talk about something like this in such a public setting, but my life has changed forever because of this injury, and if I can even just help one woman and spare her from going through this, then making this video will have been worth it. For the record, I do not regret at all having a child. I would do it all again for him in a flash, and I very much look forward to having another baby when and if my body is ready. Please God, we are blessed. And I am even finding such beautiful fruits in this season and in this suffering, such as having to lean on my family, which has made us all a lot closer. But I just frankly had to tell you about this injury. When I've told women about this injury, most have responded that they did not know about it. And that's not even touching on some of the other birth-related injuries that are out there, which I'm sure that I don't even know about. Levator Avulsion is only a young diagnosis, as old as 20 years or so. That doesn't mean it's only been happening for 20 years, mind you. It is not largely taught about, it is not even known about by many healthcare professionals, and it is missed in way too many cases. Early diagnosis is pivotal to improve symptom management throughout the course of a mother's life. So if you are currently postpartum and your intuition feels off about your current symptoms, I encourage you to seek a second or even third opinion from a pelvic floor physiotherapist, preferably one that specializes in birth trauma injuries if you can. And if you are a primary loved one of someone who just gave birth, encourage them to go for their checkups. Actively ask them how their body is healing and how they're feeling about it, and make sure that you are doing the majority of the manual labor in that crucial 6-week healing window. Otherwise, please spread the word about this injury. This video is shareable, or just tell people about it. And for any woman with further questions, my inbox is always open. God bless.